Well, good morning. My name is Richard Mayhew. I'm from the ADM Investor Services offices in London, and I handle commercial grain clients, hedge clients in the European and the US markets. And every year I do a crop tour, which I've been doing for the last 15 years or so. This year, as with the last 5 years, accompanied by my son. And we generally travel about 1,500 miles around the Corn Belt, focusing mainly on Iowa and Illinois. We did touch into southern Minnesota. What can I say? Basically, I've never seen a crop as good as I've seen it in central Illinois, but it's slightly different when you cross over into Iowa. What was amazing to me was to see the ear counts in the corn, in the corn crop, in the cornfields, basically in central Illinois. Huge ear counts. Also, the ears are pollinated all the way through to the tip. It was a little harder to see some of that in the northern Illinois because the crop is, the corn is not yet in the milk stage, so it's difficult to see exactly how pollination went. But as a whole, the crop, even in northern Illinois, all the way through to central Illinois, looks fantastic. The beans look good. They've got good height down in central Illinois. They're already, rows are filled in. It's a lot different from some of the previous years we've seen, and the potential obviously is going to be made in August. As we all know, bean crop is made in August, but it looks like it's got off to a fantastic start, and the yields should be pretty good. Whereas the corn crop in Illinois is uniform, the plants are massive, the ear counts are high. You cross over into Iowa, and although the ear counts still seem to be very high, the plant population is high, the crop is less uniform. And the biggest issue I think we found in Iowa was that there are so many drowned out spots that are either, in some cases where it just rained, there was still water there, or in most cases it was just dried out, drowned out spots that they had tried to replant to either beans, even in the middle of a cornfield. And in some cases, you know, that looked like the beans were planted early enough that they will still make something, but in other areas it looked as if the beans were too short, and they're probably not going to make much of anything. As a result of one of our conversations in northern Iowa, I asked the question of one person who popped into the office there as to what the percentage perhaps was of the fields that he had on drowned out spots, and I think he said something to the region of 20%, which seems quite high to me, but it does illustrate that there is an issue there in Iowa. The potential yield is probably still there, but one has to account for the fact that I don't think Iowa yields are going to come near as good as Illinois yields. That's my personal opinion and what I've seen, and so it doesn't mean anything perhaps on the whole scheme of things because of what's going on in Nebraska, South Dakota, or all the other states, which we hear are so good, but it does perhaps maybe shave off from my ideas anyway as to, you know, how big this crop is. I mean, it looks like obviously most analysts and people are looking at a record crop, and I wouldn't disagree with that. I'm just saying personally, from my opinion of what I've seen in Iowa, you know, there are still things that need to be made through the month of August. Certainly the cool temperatures and the beautiful weather that they've had there just recently and even currently now are going to help the grain fill in corn, and everyone we spoke to pretty much has a very good optimistic view of the corn crop, and talking yields up significantly from last year. These of course have been my opinions, they're not ADM Investor Services opinions. And I just want to say the reason I do this trip is because I like to get for my clients and for myself a feel as to what is going on, because we hear a lot We read a lot, etc., but it's nothing like actually going into the fields and having a look and seeing whether those things line up with how you believe. And so that's been a very useful process for me, and I've enjoyed it immensely. It is a long, hard trip, but it's a nice country to be in.